Hey Limitless Nation, today you are in for a real treat. You get to learn directly from Gisele Bonds. Gisele Bonds is a renowned speaker, avid networker, and branding photographer. Gisele is highly sought after as she has personally helped multiple public speakers, authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs to star status. Gisele has gone being from miserable in corporate life to working with successful speakers and authors and coaches and other well-known entrepreneurs. She absolutely loves being able to help each and every one of her clients and has been doing brand photography for over 30 years. In today's masterclass, you are going to learn from the one and only Gisele Bonds. Let's dive into it.
Well, before you dive into today's masterclass session, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. It allows you to receive notification about every single time we have uploaded a new video and showing you how to live a limitless life. Now, if you want to dig deeper on what you need to do to hunt your future, make sure you watch the interview that I've done with Donna Vaughn at huntyourfuture.com. It will show you how you can hunt your future on every aspect of your being. Plus, you're going to receive tips and secrets on what you need to do to tackle your days on a regular basis. Now, let's dive into today's masterclass sessions.
Welcome, Gisele Bonds.
Hello. So happy to be here with you, Donovan.
Absolutely. And it is an honor to have you with us. So tell us, is there anything in the bio that we did not mention that you would like to share with the Limitless listeners?
Well, one thing that you probably do not know is I consider Memorial Weekend the beginning of festivaling season. And you will find me at a music festival almost every weekend until the second Sunday in October, because there's nothing like sunshine, live music, and a cocktail. And a lot of people are accustomed to seeing me with my signature sippy cups. I have them in lots of colors. And it started from being at festivaling, but then I figured out that having my insulated cup handy comes in perfectly for coffee and sodas and sometimes even cocktails. But me and sippy cup make our rounds.
Nice. Now, here at Limitless Nation, we have a tradition of starting each interview out with a Limitless quote or mantra. Do you have a quote or mantra that you have embedded in your life?
Well, the one that has really been my guiding light for, well, October will be 30 years that I've owned a brick and mortar photography studio, is when your work is your play, you never grow tired.
I like that. When your work is your play, you never grow tired.
Yeah, so the long hours don't bother you because you are just having a good time. And the byproduct is you get to help people and you don't need a vacation from that.
Now, you just said that you've been in business for just about 30 years. That's a long time and quite a commitment. Now,
do not look at me like I invented film.
But in that process, in that journey that you've been on so far, what are some challenges or difficulties or setbacks that you've had to overcome to get to where you are right now?
Well, probably the first one was the circumstance that was the catalyst for me to start a business so young. And that was a traumatic experience working in corporate America where I realized I was powerless. And I realized that people didn't always tell the truth. And I realized that I was in a situation where my skill set, my performance, my work was not more important than alliances and corporate politics. And so I just felt helpless. And that was the catalyst that helped me to start the business, because I thought, well, if you're unhappy and you always wanted to have a photography studio, what do you have to lose by starting now? Instead of, I thought I'd probably do it like now in semi-retirement from a corporate career. So I thought, self, you got nothing to lose. If it doesn't work out, you don't have children, you don't have a husband, doesn't work out, you can always go back and get a job. So it just took being that miserable to take a chance on myself.
Okay, so you took a chance on yourself because you were unsatisfied with the way things were, and you made a decision that I'm going to take responsibility for my life and move forward in the direction that I choose.
Yeah, because I felt powerless. Like these people in higher positions in the corporation had control of my future. And it wasn't because of lack of good performance. It was just political winds that shifted. And I was like, I would rather be the captain of my future than to just be at the whim of the next time someone transferred. And I lost my, what do they call that in corporate America, where you've got people watching your back, your strategic alliances and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah, not being from corporate America, I don't know that one.
And it also affected how I ran my business, because because as a photographer and I do high school seniors, a lot of people go and get a yearbook contract. And I never wanted a contract because I felt just like in corporate, a decision maker could change. You know, a new principal comes in and just has nothing to do with the product and service you were providing, but just is a new person in charge and they want to do something differently. And so I knew instinctively that if I built my client base one by satisfying each client, no one could ever take that away from me in a snap decision the way they could with the contract. So that was a lesson I learned from corporate America that impacted the way that I chose to run the business.
Right. So you acknowledged that people matter and dealing with one person at a time made more sense than to go after a big contract.
Because no one can break that relationship I have one-on-one with that client or the referrals that come from it.
I agree.
Only I can mess that up by not giving them good service.
I agree. And through your business and when starting out, did you ever come across an aha moment where your business went from here to here?
The most important thing was once I was married and I was pregnant and at that time the studio was in a local mall, and the problem with having a photography studio in a mall was I thought my pricing had to look like mall photography pricing, which was based on high volume, low price. The only problem was I had low price and low volume. So what that meant was the money was coming out as quick as it was going in. And being in a mall, I had to be open 7 days a week, from 10 in the morning till 9 at night. And at some point I realized I could be broke and tired. I mean, I could be broke and well rested instead of broke and tired. And at the time that I became pregnant, I realized, okay, the experiment kind of needs to shift because there's more on the line than me. And at that time, I started joining my professional trade associations. And by joining my professional trade associations, I found my first mentor in my industry. And, her first advice was I had to get out of the mall because I couldn't charge pricing and create the value that I needed to earn a living in a mall environment. So my advice to most any entrepreneur is pay the dues, join your professional trade association, because there are people in those trade associations, A, they take their craft and their industry more seriously, and that's why they've invested in that membership. And B, they're already doing what you want to do successfully. And so you don't have to learn every lesson by going through the pain and the struggle and the agony. You can see the blueprints of success and follow that instead of skinning your knee on every little roadblock.
I agree. So what you did was you invested time and energy into finding a mentor and going into a group so you could learn things at a faster rate instead of just going through, shall we say, the University of Hard Knocks.
Exactly.
Now,
I'm the ones who have paved the way and learned from their journeys.
Yes, and that's a great thing. I'm sure it helps you to get to the limitless life that you're living now faster.
Absolutely. That made the biggest change. Once I had the mentor, and she basically threw away my price sheet, gave me her prices. And at that time, my most expensive, I had 2 photo sessions. I had a $10 one and a $20 one. She gave me a price sheet where I had a portrait commission fee of $150. That was larger than my biggest package. So I literally had to look in the mirror and say my commission fee is $150. That includes time, talent, and, creativity, no photographs. So that was a huge mind shift, but I would have never made that leap without the mentorship.
Right. And in doing that, you had to come to grips and be honest with yourself that you are valuable and deserving of what you're asking for.
Well, part of that process was joining the trade associations was also where my education came from. So I was investing heavily in courses and classes taught by industry leaders. The strange thing about photography is really not, portrait photography is not really taught on the academic environment. If you're in college, and I took just about every photo class I had at school, they teach you photojournalism. They may teach you how to be a starving fine artist. They may teach you, black dark room, how to print black and white film. But the business, wedding and portrait photography really isn't taught there. So that education came through my national and statewide trade associations. So it wasn't just understanding my value. I had to actually, go deeper in my skill set and learn some things that actually equated to me being of that value and of those price points.
Now, with you being a very obviously busy individual, is there anything that you're working on right now?
Hope you enjoyed the masterclass session so far. Before we get into the second half of the session itself, it is very crucial for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I really don't want you to miss out on another masterclass where I'm going to share with you what other expert celebrities, Fortune 5000 companies do to become successful and live a limitless life. So make sure you subscribe right now, and every single time we upload a new video, you will receive a notification bell. This allows you to enjoy the masterclass on the regular basis. So make sure you subscribe right now. Well, as you are ready, let's get into the second half of the masterclass session.
Well, I mean, the main thing is, in 2016, I made that shift to focus on personal branding. And it came out of a lot of pain. I had gone through my second round of caregiving, and I had taken care of my mother through her hospice period with cancer. And I'd done the same for her sister and her parents. But coming out of that last one, literally the day she passed, I went to, I left the mortuary and I called my landlord because he had been trying to reach me. And so I went up to his office and said, well, what is it? I'm here. And he says, well, you've been a great tenant for 14 years. You've always paid your rent on time, but I want a different type of business in your space. I want something with high foot traffic and high visibility, and that's not you. But oh, by the way, I've got a smaller space available if you're interested. And I'm on one of the best retail blocks in Oakland. I'm literally across the street from Lake Merritt. Many people don't know there's a lake in the center of Oakland. So I can do a combination of camera room work, walk outside. We're in a park with a lake. So I thought, okay, great. At least I get to stay on this block. It took him 6 months to tell me the complete truth. And that was that the reason this space was becoming available is he wanted me to switch locations with a new tenant who'd only been on the block for 3 years. And to make that happen, he wanted me to do a complete demolition of my current space, rip out $16,000 worth of tenant improvements, pull my marble out, take down all my subwalls, and then move into a temporary location for about 100 days while the other tenant renovated. And that way they had access to both spaces. 100 days later, I had to pack, dump my business on his head again, and move into the smaller location. Now, I hadn't been working because I was home taking care of my mother, so I didn't have resources to do another build out. So I was just utterly, mentally, spiritually, physically exhausted. I mean, it just about broke me in every sense because that was my dream space. I had been in business probably about 25 years at that point, and that was the first space that I had laid it out exactly the way I wanted it. And so then to come into a smaller space and not have the resources to do another build out, deeply depressing. And I was also still grieving the loss of my mother. So January 16, I'm coming out of that and thinking, okay, what do I want to do? And I thought, well, I want to keep doing my high school seniors. I want to focus on them, and I want to do business headshot. And how can I go deeper in headshot? Personal branding photography. What's that? I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's make it up. So that was that moment that I made that shift. And because I made that decision to focus on one segment of portrait photography instead of being a general practitioner of portrait photography. Weddings, family portraits, high school seniors, graduations, kids, maternity, just the personal branding, then I could be more specific and I could serve better. And that allowed me to also roll in my past life experience working in corporate and marketing and sales, running a brick and mortar. So I can and let's be honest, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be Darren Stevens. He was Samantha's husband on the show Bewitched, and he was a copywriter in an advertising firm. And that was why I studied advertising. So being involved in personal branding photography, it allows me to dig deep into my clients' businesses and help them think about strategies to raise their visibility and create the photographs that drive that messaging. So I'm uniquely qualified because it's just something I've been fascinated in, and I've got that experience. So it's just very satisfying. And I couldn't have got to that place without kind of hitting that bottom.
Okay. So you found a way to move forward out of difficulty. Now, with where you are in your journey, what is one habit that you have developed and do daily that helps you maintain your limitless life?
Well, I always say that, I have a bionic ear. So that ability, when I work with my clients, I take them through a brand impact consultation where I learn about their brand, what their marketing objectives are for the next quarter, what their skill sets are. And so I'm taking that in with my ear and then trying to figure out how I'm going to interpret that visually. So that habit that I had to develop is the habit of listening, paying attention.
Okay. Yeah, that reminds me, what I was told about a couple of days ago was that there's a difference between hearing something and listening to something. And most people are just waiting for someone to stop talking so they can go on to the next thought instead of actually internalizing what they're really saying and thinking about it.
Absolutely. So the byproducts becoming a brand photographer is I became in higher demand because one of the ways that I raised my own visibility was live streaming. People began to perceive me as a public speaker. So then I began to be asked to speak. So none of that would have happened without that ouch moment and then me putting myself out in this other niche. Because one thing about it, to be in business for almost 3 decades, you have to be seen. You know, when I got started, this was my original professional camera. Looks a lot different than a professional camera now. So if you looked at this, you knew you needed to go somewhere to learn how to use it. Now there are computers in the camera. People take a couple of YouTube videos and you can have a business card and a website in a couple of weeks. Everybody's a photographer. So, you know, how do I distinguish myself from them? How do I, be seen? So I had to learn things like local SEO because you could, I did a Google search for photographers in Oakland. I wasn't on page 10. I was like, how can that be? So I had to do a deep dive and learn local search engine optimization. I had to learn how to be a good networker, going to Chamber of Commerce mixers. So all of those strategies were more brick and mortar. In the last 3 years, I've learned, or what I like to call ground game, I've learned more of what I consider to be air game, like live streaming and using social media and creating, funnels. So it's that combination of air game and ground game that is moving me forward in a way that my colleagues are not. So it's an exciting time. And I love teaching my clients the strategies that have kept me relevant for almost 30 years.
Okay. So you're always continually learning and feeding your mind.
Yeah. I say you have to kind of be like Madonna. She will constantly evolve and keep herself relevant. And as entrepreneurs, we have to do that. We cannot rest on our laurels. We have to push forward. We have to pay attention to how the marketplace is changing and evolving. And we got to keep up.
Exactly. Now, in things that are constantly changing and evolving, what is one book that you have read that has made the most impact on your journey so far that you can share with the Limitless Nation?
Well, a really important book in my life is a little tiny book. It's about this big, and it is called The Abundance Book. It's by John Randolph Price, and it is a series of affirmations, and I believe it's like a 40-day cycle that you get up and you read them, you meditate on them, and you journal on it. But it's to get you to really understand an abundance mindset and that there's an infinite supply and that it's already there for you. And, I've gone through that process. It's time for me to do it again because it's been over a year since I've gone through the exercise, but it just helps you to tap in and realize that you can plug into a higher source and that your heart's desire can be there for you. I can recall the first time that I went to a national photography convention. It was the first time I treated myself to a spa package in a hotel. And I sat in this huge spa with all the employees, offering me more juice on the edge of the spa. And I pretended that it wasn't a spa. I pretended that it was actually my home and my staff in my home. And I sat in that hot tub and I meditated about having a client base that was not limited by geography. That was probably 20 years ago. Just this weekend, I was working in Houston. And so I spoke in a bit on Saturday, and there were clients that were pre-booked that I did their personal brand photographs between Thursday and Sunday. The speaker that went on right before me gave an example of a one sheet and a resume, and it was of a woman and had 2 photographs. Well, it was my client, and I had taken both of the pictures on that one sheet, and that client lived in DC. I'm in Houston, and I was like, wow, it's really happening. I really do have clients all over the country, and geography is not an issue. We've got great technology. I do my sessions out of town. I come back home. We meet on video conferencing just like this. We meet on Zoom, and I help them select their photos and give them ideas about how to use them. And I do feel that it's limitless, that I can just have the life that I didn't even dream of before niching down and travel and speak. And as a matter of fact, I was booked internationally twice last year. I was supposed to speak in Trinidad and in Bali. And the woman putting on the conference in Trinidad had an MS flare-up and had to cancel it. And Bali, there were 2 back-to-back earthquakes and tsunamis in Indonesia. And I thought, maybe this isn't a good time. But I know that I'm about to have international clients. It's coming. There are no limits. It's going to happen.
And that's absolutely exciting. And that's also, I'm sure, the power of affirmations and positivity and everything that you have been training your mind for.
Right. And it's also about my whole framework about visibility, staying visible through Google and through social media and live streaming. It all has played a part in this amazing shift in my career in the last 3 years.
Absolutely. Now, if we were to take a step back and you were to think back to, say, the most difficult part of your career, if you had to start all over again, perhaps in this difficult spot, is there anything that you would have done differently to live the limitless life that you're currently living now?
Well, there's a poem that has a refrain in it that says, I wouldn't trade nothing for my journey. So, it's easy to sit back and Monday morning quarterback your life. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be the woman that I am without each one of those struggles and triumphs. So, if I had done something differently, I wouldn't be in the place that I am. And all of those things that you would on the surface say, well, I would have made a decision so I didn't have to go through that, if I didn't have to endure that. But then I wouldn't be where I am. And I'm perfectly positioned to move forward in a limitless way. And I may not have been ready if I hadn't gone through some of that seasoning that prepared me. So I wouldn't change a thing.
I agree. Some people go through difficult things in their lives and they wouldn't wish it on their worst enemy, but sometimes they're happy that they went through it, but they wouldn't go through it again. But in going through that difficult challenge, they were able to grow and move forward and, I guess, reach a new level in life themselves.
And you learn what you're made of.
Exactly.
And you learn to appreciate, because if you didn't have that basis of comparison for when things were a struggle, you wouldn't really be able to appreciate the good stuff because you would just think it's supposed to be good.
I agree. It's almost like the seasons. You have winter and you have summer as far as the extremes. If you don't like winter and summer comes around, you can appreciate it more versus when it gets really, really hot, you appreciate the winter a little bit more.
So it makes it taste a little sweeter.
Absolutely. Now, tell us, Gisele, where can the Limitless Nation viewers and listeners go to learn more about you and what you have going on and just get in touch?
Absolutely. They can go to GiseleBonds.com, Gisele Bonds, Bonds. On social media, I'm Hey_Ms. Bonds, MZBONDS. So I'm Hey_Ms. Bonds everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean it, because I also have launched my brand transformation experience ambassadors. And what that simply means is that anyone who is like, I need that sort of photography in my life, I don't have that sort of photographer in my area. If you become a brand ambassador, it simply means that you are standing up to be an advanced team for myself and my makeup artists, and finding at least 10 professionals or entrepreneurs who know they need high quality brand photography and the grooming that goes with that. And then we'll come to your town, we'll work with you, and we'll also do a workshop while we're in town so that everyone who participates has a better understanding of how to raise their visibility with the tools.
That sounds exciting and extremely helpful to everyone who wants to reach that next level in their limitless life.
Absolutely.
Well, Gisele, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me, and I am just thrilled to be a part of this project because I love that you guys are helping people understand that we don't have to put limits on our goals and our dreams.
I agree, and I'm sure that the Limitless Nation viewers and listeners have been inspired by your story. I know that I personally have been inspired by your story.
Thank you, Donovan.
You're welcome. Until next time, this is Donovan saying stay limitless.
Well, that's a wrap. Please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the word subscribe. And if you want to go deeper on learning on what you need to do to hunt your future, make sure you watch the interview that I've done with Donovan on what you need to do to hunt your future on every aspect of your being. This allows you to live a limitless life on every aspect of your life starting from today's forward. Plus, you are going to receive tips and tricks on what you need to do to tackle your day, tackle your challenges on every situation, every single time. So go ahead and download it right now, and until then, stay limitless forever.